Hey guys, so welcome back to another modification review for the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, or the review on the modifications I've done to my 2018 Giulia Quadrifoglio. So today we're going to talk about airflow and sound modifications that I've done. So last time we did a stance video, so tires and springs. I did the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's and ST lowering springs. Those were all amazing decisions. And then for this video, we're going to be talking about the Centerline X-pipe, the Forza exhaust valve controller, and the Sprint filter. I should probably also add the Go Fast Bits GFB Diverter Valve Plus to this video. There's not really much to say about that. It's a diverter valve rebuild kit. And I did it because the stock diverter valves are pretty brittle and shitty. You know that when you open it up and you can easily break them. I didn't break mine, thankfully. But yeah, that didn't really make much of a change. Maybe a little bit change to throttle response, maybe, but that could all be psychological. But it's more just future-proofing the cars, because if those diverter valves will fail, then we don't want that, especially if you're gonna mod your car and be raising the boost levels. So I did that. But before I want to talk about the sound of the car, get in the car, show you sound clips, of course. But before that, I just want to talk about the choices that I made and whether or not there were great choices for these parts. So for the Sprint filter, that's a big yes for me. I wanted to add a little bit more airflow in case modifying, and maybe just get a little bit more performance out of the car. There was a noticeable change in performance when I put the X-pipe and Sprint filter. I did not do those separately. I did them at about the same time, but there was a noticeable change in power or torque response when putting those on. I know that seems silly to some people, or maybe it doesn't, I don't know. I came from like Subaru small boosted engines that if you modify the exhaust or the intake, you need a tune in order to take advantage of it, where you throw codes and it pretty much does very little. I think maybe because these, you guys can tell me, or anyone can tell me please, I think because these ECUs are just more advanced and you're dealing with much more power, that you can actually get noticeable changes without a tune with adding things like a filter and an exhaust. I thought people just sounded stupid when they said that was changed, but it actually changed. And when I put the JB4 on, which I will talk about in another video, I wanted to get some time with it before I made a review of that. I noticed that the stock boost was actually a little bit higher, so I would get between 21 and 22 PSI at stock map, read and logged on the JB4. And I think that is different than what most stock cars would actually be running at sea level. So if sea level matters. Yeah, so I think that did make a difference. So I chose a Sprint filter because the other option was the BMC filter, which is an oiled filter, and I don't know really much about those, but I didn't want to deal with that because a lot of people say that they can cause problems because of the oil. Don't know if that's true, but I didn't want to deal with it. So I went with the Sprint filter. It's got really good, I mean, their data on it shows that it has better airflow than stock and maybe the other filter, but seemed like an easy option, no brainer. Got it, installed it super quick. Anyone that owns this car should do something like that if they want to just have fun with it and get to know the car, because going in and opening up the intake and taking that top cover off even, which is really simple, is something you should do to get to know this engine bay in this car. So I did that. I did the X-pipe because I wanted I wanted to preserve the stock characteristics of the sound of the exhaust. I don't agree that it preserved the stock sound at all. It definitely changed the sound, but maybe not as much as a lot of aftermarket exhaust systems for this car. I have a lot to say about that, so I'm going to say that in the car, especially because I've had some problems with it that you might want to know about. And I don't blame Centerline or the quality of their product. I think it has something to do with my exhaust for some reason. I'll get to that in a moment. And then of course the Forza valve controller, because I wanted more noise, and it's nice to have the valves open whenever you want them, even if you're not in race mode. That seems more obvious because when I got the car, I was like, I don't want to have to be in race mode with traction control off in order to hear the car, which, you know, if you're in wet conditions, that's really annoying. Like, you don't want to have traction control off. Once I got used to the car, its power, and even modifying the car and its power and having these new tires on it and stuff on the street, on dry roads, I'm very comfortable hitting any corner as hard as you possibly can in race mode, because it's actually harder to break traction with these tires even when the car is running 50 to 80 or 100 more horsepower. I know, I don't know how people are not talking about the massive difference in rear traction and hooking with these tires, but it's true. I feel very safe just running it in race mode at all times. But the Forza Controller was a really fun modification, really worth it, even though it's one of the more expensive options. It's not that expensive and you can install it yourself very, very easily. So I'll show you guys that. I'll talk about the X-pipe. I'll give you guys some sound clips. And so one of the cool things about having the Forza Controller is you can program the buttons on your home link. Let me see if I can get more light in here. Nope. You can see those little home link garage door opener. So this is valve open. You can hear that change. And close. So that's really nice. So the valve controller is right under here. You pull that off. There it is. And then I just wired it down from in there. And then you basically just remove this plate right here and you can kind of come up underneath and do it. It's not too difficult. It's kind of annoying, but pretty easy install. That took about like 45 minutes maybe. So talking about sound, we're going to start off in just like valves closed, cruising, and I don't know what you guys can hear yet. And I'm sorry if the camera's shaky. I don't have any special equipment or anything. But yeah, valves are closed. You will probably be able to maybe hear the sprint filter over the exhaust. So not sure if you could hear the whoosh there. Now we're about to take off with the valves open, and probably sounds similar to stock. Okay, so what a lot of people want to know is, do you still get that like overrun burble in between shifts or whatever that is? The farts is what I call them. And you definitely do. At first, when I installed the X-pipe, it seemed to like go away. I don't know if like the computer was adjusting or anything, or if it just happened to be the air temperature and pressure outside or something or other. I don't know why that was, but then occasionally I would actually hear really loud slaps coming out of the exhaust, which was pretty cool. And now that it's been on for a while, I can definitely say that you do still get that noise in between shifts. It's a little bit less consistent, and you get various different like versions of it. Sometimes it's like a loud slap, crack. Sometimes it's more of that normal like fart, and sometimes it's more quiet and you can't really tell it's happening, but you can notice that it's there somewhere. It's just kind of drowned out or drowned out by the noise. Let's see if we can get a good one. Hopefully you can hear that out the window. That was the quiet one. Nope, we're gonna have to go on some slower roads. So there was a crack. So I just got the noise, but it was drowned out by the exhaust. It's like the rest of the noise coming from the exhaust. So with one big thing about this is like a lot of the extra noise that's coming from the X-pipe is actually NVH. So there's a lot more rumble and vibration and harshness under the car. Not in a way that like ruins your driving experience or annoys you. It's actually kind of nice. So when I first put this on, I was like, oh, I was a little bit disappointed because it wasn't exactly what I expected. But then as I decided, do I want to go back to stock or do I want to keep this? What I couldn't ignore was the gurgle, burble, and groan at low speeds that you get. This kind of growl that I really like. So I really love that kind of, it's almost like a V80 rumble that you get at low speeds, and the stock exhaust does not have that. So that's really valuable to me and I really like it, and that's one of the main reasons why I keep it. Now, here's the real bad part about what I have set up right now, is that I don't get to fully enjoy the exhaust noise flat out, because if I go past 80% throttle at high RPMs, I get a whistle. So I don't know if any other people have experienced this. I would really love to know if anyone else has experienced this. I tend to get weird feedback about this. I even asked Centerline and they were like, it might actually be a Venturi effect in the muffler where the exhaust is now pulling air when the race valves are open back in through the inner tips, because if you look at a diagram of the muffler, that's how it's designed, and that makes a lot of sense. But the whistle noise that it makes is intolerable at this point to me. So I might actually have to take it into a local performance muffler shop and have them do surgery and see if they can change something inside of the muffler design's internals that might be causing this whistle. And now I'm going to see if you can actually hear it. Can hear that. It's kind of insanely loud to me, and it ruins the experience of the sound of the X-pipe. If anyone else has heard this before, please let me know. I don't think it's normal, but I could think it's normal if anyone else with one of these X-pipes has experienced the same noise. If you have not experienced the same noise, please don't tell me it's normal. Just because other cars make this noise and it's not harmful. I know it's not harmful, but it's very annoying and it distracts from the noise of the engine. So it doesn't seem really worth it for that little tiny extra bit of airflow that I might be getting. I mean, when you take a resonator out, it seems like you would. But yeah, so far, no idea what it is. It's probably a Venturi effect, meaning some kind of air flow effect, air being pulled in when the fast air goes by the open valve. But that's annoying, that sucks, and not all just because, you know, it's louder and has more airflow doesn't mean it should make that noise. And I don't know if that's because of my muffler. It's probably because of my muffler or something going on there. Maybe there's some kind of piece of metal that's a different length than what it should be or something. I have no idea. But Centerline was really responsive, and you know, they told me what they thought it could be. I don't blame them at all. I don't think it's their product or their problem. I think it's this specific situation. But if anyone else has experienced that, please let me know. All right, so the car's right behind me. I want to show you something in the engine bay around the diverter valve. So the Go Fast Bits Diverter Valve Plus rebuild kit is what I installed. Super easy. I'm just going to show you that really quickly now. As you've probably seen before, this is the engine bay of this car. The diverter valves are under here and here. You just take these scrunchies off. You don't need to remove anything. You just literally pull these off and you'll be good to go. And then this clip right here, or this harness, and this one back here that comes from the other side, back here, need to be unclipped. And then there's 3 bolts on each little diverter valve. Let's see if you can see in there. It's right there and right there. So there's 1, 2, and then screw on the other side when you take these off. I can just pop one of these off for you real quick. Why not? Boom. There it is. Boom, boom, boom. Super simple. You just pop those off and then follow the instructions in the kit. Okay, so the kit came with 2 springs. One is to provide some kind of other effect on the diverter valve. That would be better for if you're tuning the car, running more boost. But things were very unclear, the instructions in the forums around which one you should use, the one spring or the two springs, depending on what you're doing. I ran the one spring, which is similar to OEM, and it didn't throw any codes. I am running more boost, but I think that's what you should do if it's not throwing any codes, but I don't know. It seems to me there are a lot of different situations that present different outcomes with people's cars. So who knows? I did the one spring, no codes, great. Not gonna put the second spring in there even if I'm running more boost unless it was totally necessary or if I was getting it professionally tuned. All right, so to recap on everything, we got the sprint filter. That's an absolute yes. $90 to $100, super easy install, and it provides extra airflow and a little bit of noise. Is it necessary? No. Not at all. But if you were going to tune it or get even a piggyback, it's a why not kind of thing. The X-pipe. That is like, the sound is amazing. I think it sounds better with the X-pipe than any exhaust system out there, period, hands down. But of course, that's my opinion. Except for that whistling that I'm getting. That is a big no for me. Like, if that doesn't go away, then it was a complete waste of time and money. But if that's not the usual for people, then I think for $800, whatever the Centerline X-pipe originally costs, was fantastic. Fantastic value, way better than spending $4 or $5 grand on a whole system for absolutely no reason, no benefit, even with airflow. A lot of companies have tested and said anything above the stock or like 2.5 or 3 inch piping, it doesn't actually have an effect on the computer's ability or the tunability of the car or the ability to create more boost or power from it. So there's no benefit. I don't know if that's entirely true, but the information is out there. Go take a look. So absolutely on the X-pipe, if it doesn't give you that whistling noise. Mine sucks, but hopefully I'll figure that out and I'll make a video around what happens with it in case other people experience that. Then there is the Forza Controller, which is a big old yes too, because that's like 350. I can't exactly remember what I paid for it, but it's a super simple solution for a very annoying thing on this car, which is the valves opening at like 3,500 RPM in D mode and not letting you hear the noise unless you have traction control off. So that's stupid. Easy fix. So sprint filter, great. X-pipe, so amazing if it doesn't have that whistle. Forza, same thing, really good buy. And then the diverter valve kit, why not? If you're going to tune the car, definitely do that, because if you're going to be running more boost, apparently their diverter valves are shit. Yeah, I think that's it. Next video is going to be the JB4 and maybe even a video exploring what the hell's going on with my exhaust sound. And I'll see you next time. One last thing for all the haters out here on these tires that look too big for the car. Like they look fatter on the wheel, so people complain about the size from because you can see the tread a little bit differently than the stock wheel. But honestly, that's like a style choice. It's definitely not too big for the car at all. You know, like, sure, you can have personal preferences on how you want it to look, but that's literally flush. Just, you know, if you think that looks like shit, that's fine, but, you know, if you're gonna comment on it, just how about you eat dicks instead?